All right, everybody, welcome back to the Paperless Movement YouTube channel. I'm Tom Solid, and today I'm joined by Nadia Tatlow, and she's actually the CEO and founder of Shift. And we will talk what Shift actually is, something I was testing, I think, 2 years ago already for the first time, where you can combine a lot of tools in one workspace, something that I really like, especially if you follow me and the iCore framework, where I want to have an end-to-end productivity system set up. This is a nice approach. So what challenges we face there, that's what we will discuss now. All right, Nadia, thank you very much. And back to the show. I actually had to be careful that I don't call you Nadia Tatlow. We talked about this before the interview already, that me in Germany, if we see a surname like with a W in the end, we assume you're from Poland or Ukraine or somewhere there. But you're actually from Canada. And as people will hear now, you talk the real English compared to me. Americans might say the opposite, but we don't go down this road. So Nadia, welcome to the show, and let us know who you are and what Shift actually is, and then let's dive into this interview.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here, and no Polish background from what I know, but I get that a lot with my name. So you're not the first, that's for sure.
Oh, then I feel better now. Okay, so Shift. Why did why is Shift there? Why did it ever appear on the surface?
Yeah, so, we started Shift back in 2016. We kind of had the idea for Shift, really to solve an internal pain point that we had at a technology company that I was working at here in Victoria, called Red Brick. And basically, a few of us at the company were managing multiple email accounts. So we had Gmail, Calendar, and Drive associated with multiple email accounts that we're basically switching between constantly. Because we were in the process of diversifying at that company and coming up with new product ideas all the time. So even before something had, any legs really, we had a domain, and I had Nadia at that domain and this domain. And I think by the time we started Shift, I had about 8 email addresses on the go, which is definitely more than the average person, but I don't think that uncommon among marketers and entrepreneurial people. So basically we had this idea that we wanted to build a SaaS product on the Electron framework, which is what Shift is built on, Slack, and I think the new Evernote as well. And so we basically started kind of tinkering and basically building out Shift as a multiple email solution. And then from there, really approach the business from I always think of it as sort of like horse before the cart. Let's launch this thing, get it out there, see if we can attract some early adopters, see if we can prove out signal for early signs of product market fit. And so we did that, and we got a lot of interesting signal from entrepreneurs and marketers, and basically people just like us who were, busy building all sorts of different tools and trying to manage a bunch of emails to go with. But almost immediately, people started asking for all of their apps, so all of their social media apps, all of their major work tools, everything from Slack and Asana to WhatsApp and Facebook, and basically every other app you can think of. So then at that point, we really kind of embraced the idea that we're building the browser for work.
Mm-hmm. So you just mentioned the word browser. What is really the difference between having several tabs open in the Chrome or preset tabs compared to using Shift? Because I log into my Slack account and Evernote and what else, and I will have everything available on the site in Shift. I could have the same in Chrome, or what's the difference?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with Chrome, I think if you're a power user in Chrome and you really leverage, Google, like the Gmail profiles, and kind of manage everything by identity in Google or in Chrome, you might have everything set up perfectly and sort of be able to kind of manage accounts that are associated with each identity that you have online across work, personal, side hustle, whatever else you do. With Shift, what we really wanted to acknowledge is that most people don't have that perfectly set up to make context switching between those identities really easy and seamless. So what we wanted to do was essentially take everything that you do in the browser all day at work and pull that out and build it out in a much more sort of manageable way inside of Shift. And help you really at the core, I think, eliminate distractions, like non-work distractions when you want to get work done, and really help bring, I guess, focus to your workday. So, across notifications and sort of all of the identities that you have, I think at the core, we really believe like productivity is at its best when you can kind of mute all that and focus on kind of the task at hand, or the tasks at hand related to one thing rather than, everything.
Yeah. And that's actually one thing that I really realized. I was skeptical when I was testing it first. As I said, 2 years ago, a lot changed in the meantime. So I tested it, I think, 4 months ago another time. And why I'm still not using it, we will talk about this as well. But I was really surprised about this effect, having this workspace with really the things that I need on a daily basis. It is different than having open tabs. And as you said, it is really distraction free. It's like having access to the different applications that I need. And I'm sure you can tell me the recent developments in Shift where is it actually called Workspaces or something like that, where you can have preset mixtures of applications that you can give certain teams they work with. Is that described properly?
Yeah, that's pretty good description. Workspaces is a space inside of Shift where you can add a collection of tabs, apps, and bookmarks, and then you can actually share that focused view of Shift with other people on your team or outside of your team. Really, the point of that. I have everything from basically a workspace for each team at Shift. So a marketing workspace, a customer success workspace, a technology workspace. And for me, it really helps me sort of contain and contextualize everything that I do, especially those things that you may dip into, once or twice a week, kind of see the high level. And then you can kind of swoop out and go back to, your other workspaces or your kind of regular Shift view to get your work done. But especially when you're dipping into meetings and collaborating with other people asynchronously or via Zoom, it's really nice to just kind of have this, this consistent view of the most important things and avoid that kind of back and forth that we all do constantly, like dipping in and can you send me that link? Can you send me that doc? Can you, even though they, your poor team's probably shared those things with you, every
100,000 times.
1,000 times.
I mean, I can. People who follow me know that I always complain about this. The best story is always when I do team coaching, and it is repeated so many times. People sitting in a team, 5 people take notes. One person actually takes meeting minutes. This will be sent out via email. 2 weeks later, you have the exactly same meeting talking about exactly the same thing that you have done weeks before. But let's stay on the workspaces. I like this idea, especially from the point of view of a CEO wearing a lot of hats. I can quickly switch hats and go into the different workspaces as long I don't have team members doing the stuff for me. I could go, into marketing, and I have all the tools ready that I usually use for the marketing. I have video editing or communication or whatever. And this helps me to really, as you said, quickly switch focus on what I need to focus on instead of opening a set of tabs. So my workaround on Chrome was always that I have in the bookmarks a folder with the preset pages that I need to visit, and I open this folder and all the tabs at once. So this would be a more similar way, in Shift, however much more elegant to approach. So when it comes to speed, what about this? When I have loads of Chrome tabs open, performance will decrease. How about having a lot of integrations in Shift? Is this the same, or?
Yeah, so the space that Shift takes up is similar to Chrome, because you can think about it as basically an instance of Chrome. What we've done to basically streamline the transition from Chrome to Shift is essentially make it a couple clicks to import all of your bookmarks, passwords, and history into Shift, so that as soon as you onboard into Shift, you basically can port everything over and have it all set up. But, I think to your point about performance, obviously that is like the number one thing. And from I think it's a number one challenge and opportunity for us is really, making sure that we're as good as Chrome. And that's really expected browser behavior. So we spend a lot of our time basically making sure that anything that you'd expect to be able to do in Chrome, you can do in Shift. And that definitely takes a ton of our time and a ton of our energy on the technical team or on the engineering team to basically make sure we're constantly up to speed. But outside of that, I think, the major perks for people are exactly what you said. It sounds like you organize everything via folders. For us, that feels clunky. So being able to contextualize your entire workday beyond just work, personal, side hustle, but really down to a more granular level, like we were talking about across teams. To give you an example of like a personal workspace, I'm planning my wedding, so I've got a wedding workspace set up. And essentially, as stuff comes in my personal Gmail account, I can, quickly open up links, send it to wedding workspace, open it there, make a bookmark for it. I can do transient sort of research in the tabs, stuff I've booked, I have in bookmarks. And then I can add apps, like we've got an actual app that we use for all that stuff. And then I can share it with my partner and make sure that, everyone's up to speed on the same
that he will turn up on the wedding then, yes. So, maybe one clarification about the folders. So I was talking about in the Chrome bookmark section, you can create folders with a set of links and then right click and you open all of these links at once. So it is like opening up a workspace in Shift. But as you already pointed out, there's much more than just opening up Chrome tabs. And I also want to address that you said it's easy to get into Shift. I can confirm this. I was really surprised with how many tools I can use in order to log in, like Slack and Miro and all the things that I use actually. And the Chrome extension available, like Todoist integration, that I can create tasks out of Gmail into Todoist. This is something I think is crucial in my workflow, and this is available. And I'm using LastPass, so LastPass is integrated as well. So you really thought ahead, and it seems like that you also look for what are the common extensions, isn't it? Because at some point you have to prioritize what next extension you should integrate into Shift. So what's your roadmap on that, or your experience so far, and then the roadmap ahead?
Yeah, that's a good question. So to your point about apps, basically we support almost 2,000 apps at this point. So basically everything you can imagine having access to on the web, and all your major tools we support in Shift. Extensions, on the other hand, we have a smaller selection because there are a lot deeper integrations, and we kind of hit on this before the interview, but the roadmap is pretty clear for us there, and exciting, because we're going to be able to integrate with basically all of the major extensions pretty soon. I think the challenge when we initially built Shift is that the code for extension support wasn't actually part of the Electron framework or the Electron project. So it's a heavier lift technically to get each one of those up and running. So kind of, check them off one by one based on priority and usage, and then obviously what our customers are pleading for. But we're excited to kind of, be able to access basically all the extensions in the Chrome Web Store pretty soon. And that'll be, I think, a big win for a lot of our users. Obviously, if you're an extension user, it's integrated, sounds like Todoist for you is core to your workday. So we want to make sure that we're not standing in the way of that.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely great. And one thing that I realized that last time I was using Shift, um, the only workaround to integrate actual websites, because obviously I have my website that I manage and I need to access every day and work on this. So I looked for a way how to do this, and there was only a workaround using Jira um, in order to get my website into Shift as a app on the side. So is there any change since I used it last time, or anything planned that I can
Yeah,
integrate websites actually?
yeah, that's a very quirky workaround.
But
But what
at
you
least
can
you have
do,
something. I mean,
yeah,
you hold me longer inside Shift just by giving me the workaround instead of giving nothing, you know? So it shows that you had a thought about this.
yeah, kudos to our QA and customer success team for getting you to do it that way.
You have
Yeah,
just to camouflage it in a different way and using a different logo than Jira. It's, you know,
yeah, exactly.
nobody would mind.
Yeah, you know what? I would love to be able to basically, I think what you're asking for is a custom app. So obviously your website appearing in the Shift ecosystem, just like an app would, and available on the sidebar. Right now we don't have that offering, and we probably should build that in, because I think a lot of people.
You know, I
Um,
would already be happy if you just allow me to change the Jira logo to my paperless movement logo. That's done. I'm
what I would
sold.
suggest is creating a workspace for your company, pinning and then putting your company logo um, as the custom workspace icon, and then it will actually show up on your sidebar, and you could go in there, and really your workspace could be just dedicated to website work.
Oh yeah,
And
that's right. Yeah.
then you basically just set your website as a bookmark, and then go from there. And I'm sure you're using all sorts of tools, design tools and mock-up tools, etc., to build out.
You're saying I'm mocking up? No, it's non-fake here.
Perfect every time. I'm sure you don't go through any
Of
other
course,
issues.
I'm standing in front of my virtual background in real. No, yeah, you're absolutely right. And this brings me back to the question about the speed. Are these websites that I add there and all the apps always running in the background and dragging down the performance as soon as I open Shift? Or is it only taking the performance from the app that I'm actually looking at?
Yeah, so we actually have a few settings around that to help make sure that we're not over consuming in the background, and slowing things down. So what we've built in is a hibernation mode, and so you can set different accounts to hibernate, and essentially help. And I would highly recommend you do that if you hadn't already. It's basically a way to make sure that when you're not in focused view of whatever space you're working in, we're not using up unnecessary space. So yeah, basically to solve for exactly what you're getting at.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. And I have to say, I didn't have the feeling that my performance really dropped using it. I really found myself using Miro inside Shift more than the actual Miro app. I don't know why this was. Probably because I'm using the browser version as well. So is it really apps that you integrated there, or is it? To me, it was always the website that is just running inside Shift, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. It's basically the web view login to whatever portal. What we're helping you hurdle over is
Is the logging
the
stuff.
login bit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and this is
it's
really this is taking away a lot of friction, and it feels like that everything is ready once I enter there.
yeah.
So you know, I'm getting inspired to download it once more. I think I
So that-
haven't done no, I haven't done a review yet about Shift. I was just using it for myself. So I think I have to follow this up now.
Yeah, we love
Okay.
that. I think, obviously with the web view version of app, some people really feel committed to the desktop version of whatever app. With Shift, obviously, Shift is the desktop app. And so for us, where we see value is that you download Shift as your desktop app. Every time you open up Shift, you now have access to everything else that you do all day. So the key is that you open up Shift and as basically your first and one and only necessary work app, and then everything else is part of the ecosystem. And really, our job is not to tell you which apps to use or how to use them. It's really just to kind of spoon feed you what we believe is a more manageable, streamlined way of running your workday, and kind of avoiding all that logging in, logging out, opening up a zillion tabs in Chrome or whatever browser you use, and basically just trying to, mitigate that sense, that kind of feeling of FOMO when you're in the browser and maybe missing something that's happening in another app, and sort of just bring it all together and organize it for you.
Yeah. And again, as I said already, it really gives me the feeling to get more control over my apps. And also, people who don't know Shift. So when you open up an application inside Shift or the website, then in there you can open up several tabs of this application, isn't it? Am I right? And this is always related to this application because I'm inside this application. But I can go to the workspaces and can open up several different stuff there. So maybe that was a bit confusing explained, but you have to figure it out. Not you, my audience. You guys need to figure it out. Download. I think it's for free, isn't it, to test?
Yeah, you can download Shift for free, and and basically access a couple of email accounts and I think one app. But then basically where it's where you're building your entire workday into Shift that we get the upgrade into the advanced mode, which is $100 a year.
Yeah, and staying with the that we have an application there. Let's face it, most of the application versions of the things like Slack or what else, they are also just replicates of the website, isn't it? So they're probably using something similar like Electron or whatever in order to build their apps.
Yeah.
So
Slack
you're in fact doing exactly the same and just integrating these apps in there.
Yeah, I think different. I don't want to speak on their behalf, but I'm not sure how deep each of their integration.
Yeah, it depends on the application, obviously. Sometimes a lot of in my audience know Miro, so I relate always to this. And Miro is different built on the desktop application than on the web, but it is nothing. I prefer the browser version anyway. And the big advantage there is, and this is why I was really interested in Shift as well, I was always looking for tools that allow me web access anyway. So I can access it from any device that I like. And Shift, just integrates there, and I need internet access anyway. So how many devices I can access Shift on? So what about, for example, Windows and Mac is there, isn't it? So what about Linux? I know many people actually ask for this. Okay, so it's available on Linux.
We don't have a ton of Linux users compared to the other two, obviously, but we do support it.
Okay.
So Shift is a desktop app, and we don't actually have yet a mobile version of Shift, mainly because we really believe, we solve a desktop problem.
Yeah.
How you experience apps on your phone, it's not so dissimilar to what we're recreating.
It would I think it wouldn't work because on a mobile phone you're not multitasking anyway, and you're switching between the apps that if they are there, that's great. Otherwise, usually the web access is not that great on iPhone, so you go back to the desktop version or at least the iPad version. So maybe on iPad it would be helpful to have something on a big one, but I see it as well as really a workspace on my desktop or laptop. So this is great. Anything else exciting coming to Shift that we need to know about?
Yeah, I think it's funny when you...
Did you come to stay?
I think with Shift, really, where we've really been able to grow quickly, reaching individual customers and really focused on helping you solve your personal organizational issues basically, and help you kind of see the light in terms of managing it better and kind of just jumping into work. So people come in through the flow, they connect all their things, and then we're not forcing a new habit change down anyone's throat. I think that's really where we've been able to kind of, I think, hit the nail on the head from the early version of the product is really what it is today, with a lot better performance actually. So, but I think from a go forward plan, it's really about how do we help teams and organizations run better, and especially since the pandemic and then all this awareness and everyone working from home, there's a lot of gaps in productivity as a team, especially if you're not all in one place anymore. I think there's a lot of that sort of like that work that you do, whether asynchronously or synchronously, that Zoom isn't ideal for. So I think right now what I'm really interested in is kind of figuring out how we help people manage the collaborative piece better. And that's, Workspaces is sort of the tip of the iceberg on that. But I was kind of polling my network on LinkedIn the other day, and basically just asking, how much time are you all spending on Zoom every day? And I think it was, about 50% were more than 4 hours, so 4+ hours. And I wish that I had put a category for 7+ hours, because I think there's a lot of people doing that. And then the next category was, 2 to 4 hours, and that was another 25% of people. And as valuable as Zoom is, it's not. We're talking about work. We're not doing work. And I think Shift has this incredible opportunity to basically kind of bring those worlds together a little bit. And that's really what Workspaces does. I think if you can avoid a Zoom call or make a Zoom call more productive, because everyone's prepared and everyone's got what they need in front of them and they've got the takeaway in front of them, that's a big opportunity for us. But yeah, I mean, outside of Workspaces and collaboration, we're really interested in, helping people do very simple tasks in a more efficient way. So we're really working on search right now, and the Omnibox search inside of Shift, which is in the kind of early design phase right now, but will be integrated in a sort of new foundational way in the next within this year. And it's really about helping people find things faster. We see this massive gap in the market. Like when you go to your browser, and there's a lot of barriers often to just finding that doc that you need and that you access all the time. And the browser history is not perfect. And so we really want to help solve for that. Right now, though, one feature that your users might be interested in is the unified search, which allows you inside of Shift to basically search across all of your mail, calendar, and Drive accounts with a couple simple keywords. So I could basically go into Shift, search your name, and basically any.
And what will you find?
Yeah,
this awesome guy from YouTube.
Who knows what I'll so within the Shift ecosystem, so it would populate everything, all of our emails. If we had a shared doc or sheet going, it would populate all of that. If obviously if that was in the title, and that I think is a massive advantage.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting. So what you basically said, that you trying to approach having a global search across all the integrated applications.
So not yet. We don't have the.
No, you don't have it. That's what you're trying to approach. That's something where you. Yeah. What the dream would be. I mean, that would be my vision, at least, that I have a single source of truth, and something I'm preaching all the time. Preaching, preaching, not praying. Praying are these people who, who want to have it. So I'm preaching this all the time, get a single source of truth. And Shift is not a single source of truth. It actually brings together the single source of truths into one framework that I can access. And if I would have then a search functionality where I can search across my different applications, this would be awesome, obviously. But it's already great that I can have one search and search across all the different email accounts. Although looking at things like Spark or other email providers or applications that unify my email accounts work similar, isn't it? So the big advantage here is that I also have the other applications connected.
Yeah. So, I think our target with search is really helping you kind of surface everything across Mail, Calendar, and Drive right now. If we can find a way to integrate with, and sort of find a way to integrate with all the other major apps that you use, that would be a perk. That's definitely a way heavier lift. But also within the Omnibox. So basically the search, which is separate from the unified search that we have right now. But because Shift serves as also a browser, actually allowing you to search across the web better, which includes, to some extent, all of your apps as well. It's a kind of a gray area.
Yeah, you're searching for the apps, but like for the Chrome extensions, if you focus, as you just mentioned, OmniFocus. So I actually have two different search fields then. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, you have your browser, like basically when you start a search in Google, Google has stored all of your, browser history of your previous searches. But, what they're optimizing for you to see is not necessarily always the most useful thing or the thing that you're actually looking to find. So it's really about what we're optimizing for you to find, and what we want you to find is like what you most recently worked on, and the tools that you most recently searched for. So what we really want to focus on is optimizing that search algorithm within Shift.
Yeah, I understood this, but you talked about OmniFocus, the application, isn't it? Or did I misunderstand?
No, sorry.
All right. I always okay, I'm misunderstanding here. So I understood that you're working on a search for OmniFocus for the application that I will find my tasks and all this, and this is why I went down this rabbit hole here.
What is OmniFocus? I'm curious.
OmniFocus is one of the task manager applications, a very popular actually one. So this is why I was going down this road. But why not why not stay there and just thinking about Evernote again. Evernote has a Chrome extension. When you search on Google, it will also show up the notes in Evernote that are related to my search on Google, next to my search. That's so cool. This is what I was thinking about, when I put in your name then and search for this in Shift, I will get the email accounts in a Drive. Why not look for ways to integrate particular or specific applications like Evernote, that it will also query a search inside Evernote as well. And then I have split views of the different search results. So this is what I found in the email account, this is what I found in the Drive, and this is what I found in the other applications that are actually integrated with the search. Yeah. So there must be a way. You have some APIs in Evernote or something like that to send some queries.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Just some food for thought here.
Yeah, maybe connecting with the Evernote team. I don't know if we've actually looked at that as a deeper integration, but I think with Shift being this sort of connective tissue across all of your different apps, our biggest challenge as a company is always like how do we prioritize all the things that we want to do to make that connected experience better for our users? And every app, we know how many times every app is connected inside of Shift and what the most popular ordering is, and all this really interesting information about the interconnections and the actions people take across apps. And so that data around productivity individually and in cohorts of people across different types of jobs and everything is quite interesting for us. And that's something that I'm really interested in also is basically how do we connect the dots for people and actually suggest back to them, how to run their workday better. And whether that's on an individual level or, for the team manager, maybe there's some cool indicators that they could actually use as a company to run more efficiently, like that app that you've been paying a subscription for 5 or 6 years, no one's actually using, and stuff like that.
So
but
you
then
get
also,
some KPIs out of how many apps are used actually in these workspaces and how often.
yeah,
And you
exactly.
can make decisions based on this. I like this idea. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
great.
Most of the I've been doing a lot of customer feedback interviews the last few months, and the key takeaway that I get every time is that everyone's tired of hearing about a new app. I think there's probably the people like you in the world who are always, looking at the newest, latest, greatest product and taking the time to really understand and explore them. But then there's, I would say a larger portion of the population that just wants to dive into their work. They want things simplified. They want,
Yeah, but this is I'm a nerd in this regards, and I'm doing this as a job,
yeah,
discovering all the new tools. You're absolutely right. But in my coaching part, I always say never change a running system. Usually the systems are not running, so we will build them up from scratch and decide what tools to get in order to make it a perfect system. But I absolutely understand. I'm a team leader myself, and it is gives the team so much friction implementing a new tool, especially if this person implementing the tool has no idea how to implement tools into a team. Usually, it
right.
was a great salesperson there, selling them whatever, I don't know, Trello, Asana, you name it, and then they implemented it, and then they are on their own, and nobody has set up conventions, nobody knows where to put what, and this
Yeah,
is this is really the issue there.
yeah.
And
My
the
heart goes
danger
out to
are the
those people.
people like me in these teams having this next shiny object syndrome, so they need to be careful. Yeah, absolutely agree here. um, yeah, but having you talk about connecting the dots. So I talked already about the search field, the global search field. That so I don't have to get into my different apps because I go into Evernote. I go to the search field. I search for something. I go into Miro. I search for a board. I go to into Google and search something, and I go in my Gmail account. So this would be to me one of the uh, innovative steps when we talk now about competition, because I think you're not alone on the market when it comes to connecting apps in one application.
Mhm.
Um, this would be really a selling point for me here, but it's just me. That's my user feedback here. Uh, but talking about competition, are you aware of them? Can you name them and tell us why you are different?
Yeah, I think Shift has definitely competition. I think that's a very healthy thing because this pain point that we're solving for is so universally known.
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes I think about who is our addressable market.
it's
It's basically
everybody.
everyone.
Yeah, it's everyone. Yeah.
Exactly, which is exciting and challenging at the same time. I think, yeah, maybe 10 years ago, it wasn't everyone because not everyone had more than one email account and a dozen apps that
Yeah.
they are accessing every single day. But now that is absolutely everyone. Well, everyone that's kind of working on a computer all day, which is more and more of us all the time. So, um, yeah, I mean, we have a lot of healthy competition, but where I think Shift is really differentiated is that really, for us, we house everything. So we house all of your other apps and
Mm.
all of those apps that also house apps, we integrate into Shift. And so we really try to keep ourselves on this level, on this high level, bird's eye view level, where we're really just helping you connect it all.
Mm.
And it's not about connecting it all into Shift. Um, it's about connecting. Well, it's not connecting all of those apps that connect all of those other apps into Shift, and it's
Mm.
kind of always jumping up to that bird's eye view, and then thinking about ways that we can actually make those connections more productive, and not just necessarily um, going down one rabbit hole and going so deep on an integration into Shift specifically, but making sure that we give you the flexibility to customize your
Yeah.
workstation in a way that works for you.
Yeah, and I really can see this being integrated in many teams because, especially with a lot more tools providing the single sign-on feature. So as long I have this company email address, I can sign on all the different applications. This would take away another friction point, isn't it? Inside Shift. And when new people come on the team, it's just one login and they have all the applications people are using in this workspace for this department. Yeah, I think it's a great approach. So what company sizes do you have in mind could use this? I mean, I'm working in a company with 300,000 employees. Would be a big challenge, but certainly something. Why not?
Yeah, I don't think that there are massive limitations other than, and what I'm learning more and more as I get to talk to more and more companies is how varied the approach to these kind of tools is, and some companies are on have a portal with limited apps available. Some companies it's pretty liberal, and really it's up to the individual employees at the company to bring in apps, and sometimes there's an approval process, sometimes there isn't. So I think there's obvious hurdles from an enterprise perspective that we'll have to jump over to get into the bigger companies, and I'm sure the 300,000 person companies will have some regulations around that. But I think our sweet spot right now is really in the small, medium-sized businesses, companies with 10 to 50 employees is probably an excellent place for Shift to sort of offer this kind of connected view and offer, I think, a huge benefit to each individual as much as to the team. And I think a lot of companies really kind of place value on that. And you look at the way Slack grew, really from that product-led growth mentality and individual employees, embracing Slack and just using Slack every day. And then eventually it working its way up the ladder to their manager and then maybe the CEO to sign off on. That's really how I see Shift making its way into companies, because we have such a loyal customer base already of people that just believe so strongly in what we're doing and the fact that it's helped them manage their workday more. So we see that kind of organic word of mouth within, person A tells their best buddy at work about Shift, and then all of a sudden they've got a few of them using it. So, whether it's small, medium businesses or just small groups within companies that start using Shift, both are super powerful for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, where do people find Shift? It is Get Shift, isn't it?
It's tryshift.com.
TryShift. Yeah. My God, I always complain about these name findings. All right, so Shift again. If you Google Shift, you probably find a lot of stuff about Shift. Or what was the other one? Infinity. There's so many words where I think, don't you want to be found?
I know, I hear you. I think when we started Shift, I think you're referring to our Twitter handle, because our Twitter handle is Get Shift.
Yeah. I mean, there are so many applications.
Time to get Try Shift, and things like that are like the bane of my existence.
Yeah, you're not the only one. This is a very common thing. This Get Beamer, I think, and what else? Google for Beamer. You found a lot of things that you can project on the wall, but you don't find the application. So Get Beamer, all right. So it's TryShift. It's not Get Shift. So you are very.
I promise if you go to tryshift.com, you'll find us.
Okay, good. So people, you heard Nadia. So go over there, and I even said Nadia in a way that it sounds more Russian than. How would it be in English? How will you? How do you pronounce Nadia? Nadia? Nadia.
Nadia. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So guys, test out. I mean, it's called TryShift. So you already have no excuse not to trying it. But before we close the interview, I have one last question. Something that you mentioned about, and people always watching this on YouTube, they see me playing with a pen and they think, Tom, are you actually writing on paper? No, I'm writing on Rocketbook. So I have a workaround. And I'm not writing on my iPad today. No excuse. Battery empty? I don't know. So one last question. Security. So especially when you go into bigger companies, or I'm working in the pharma industry, so we really need to be careful with all this data as well. How do you process data? Do you see anything at all, or do I directly log into these different applications?
Yeah, it's all handled by the applications you're logging into. So to onboard into Shift, you're connecting typically most people are connecting a Gmail account, but could be Gmail or Outlook or whatever it is that.
So Outlook is working as well
Yep.
for your email integrations?
Yep. And so when you sign on into the onboarding process, you're actually logging in. So if you're on Gmail, you're logging in through Google's OAuth protocol. So they're handling all of the data, and we're not actually handling any of that. So, we kind of say like your Shift account is as secure as your computer is.
Yeah. So you're safe there.
Yeah.
Good. Nadia, I thank you very much for being on the show. I'm sure people also like this discussion here, and hopefully they will test it out. And as usual, go to the comments below on YouTube, ask any questions. I will forward this to Nadia and the Shift team. And that's it. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was fun.
Yeah, it was. Bye-bye.
Bye.